Welcome to the Community Difference Plano, powered by the Difference Media LLC, and hosted by Nathan Smith with Summit Financial, and also sponsored by Jacqueline Kreider with Financial Mastery Simplified, Harvey Lucier with Twilight Cleaning Services, Tracy Duff with Assisted Living Locators, Cyndi Durrance with A Place at Home, Susanna Austin with Canine Resorts, Audra Hooper with Audra Hooper Integrated Health, and by Kirk Hodgson with Assured Partners. The Community Difference Plano was created to serve as a platform for local leaders and business professionals to showcase their expertise, values, and commitment to their community. Overall, the podcast aims to create a stronger sense of community in North Texas by highlighting the often overlooked or unnoticed good work being done by local leaders, businesses, and professionals. So sit back and relax as our host, co-host, and their guests share inspirational stories, experiences, thoughts, and insights about being a professional, along with the opportunities for our businesses to serve our communities in very special ways. Because the Community Difference Plano starts now.
Good morning, Plano. It is 11:32 on a beautiful Wednesday morning. Welcome to episode 58 of the Community Difference Plano, a podcast firmly rooted at the intersection of business development and community involvement. I am your host, Nathan Smith, with Summit Financial, where we specialize in guiding your personal finances, helping you to properly protect your income. We are on week 3 of how to think like a CEO, even if you're a team of one, adapting a growth mindset to lead your business to new heights. So we want to dive right in today. We're going to introduce our first co-host. She can she can twitch her nose like a bunny. She once introduced a famous sportscaster with the wrong bio and believes fake it till you make it is the worst advice ever. I agree with her. Cyndi Durrance knows what real leadership is not about pretending, it's about growing. At the heart behind A Place at Home, she embraces every challenge as a gift, making her the perfect voice for today's conversation on thinking like a CEO. So get ready for some insights, laughs, and maybe even a bunny nose demonstration. We'll have to talk to her about that. Please welcome, with A Place at Home, Cyndi Durrance. Cyndi, good morning.
Hi, how are you?
All right, we have to see it. Can we see the little...
Okay. All right. Now, my kids are going to say, Mother, I can't believe you do this. Watch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. I can't do that. So there we go. What are you most excited about today?
I am most excited about seeing who is creating education in their market and who's creating the demand for their business.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's great. And this is our third week of this topic. So really developing and getting to hear from different perspectives, which I really like. So I look forward to today. Let's bring in your partner in crime, if you will. He out-grilled the pros, walked straight into New York City light pole, which hurts, and would gladly swap business tips over dinner with James Bond. Kirk Hodgson knows what it takes to win, whether it's barbecue battles or the insurance game. As a leader at Assured Partners, he understands that thinking like a CEO means staying sharp, adapting fast, and maybe looking up from your phone once in a while. Get ready for a conversation that's as bold as his brisket and just as unforgettable. Welcome to the show, Kirk Hodgson. Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much, Nathan. Hey, Cyndi. Good to be here.
Were you injured? Were you injured with the pole fiasco?
Not even a bump, but it did hurt and was very shocking. And my family had a great laugh.
I'm sure they did. That tends to happen when other people get hurt.
I was walking on the outside, a gentleman's supposed to do closer to the street when we're
all
talking on our phones, and bam, no one warned me. And well, I'm okay.
Well, I'm glad you're okay. Let's bring in our guest today. Very excited about both of our guests, this morning. From dodging bird bombs at Disney World to solving Wall Street Journal crossword puzzles like a pro, Jaye Hohman of Hohman Financial LLC knows how to think on his feet, an essential skill for any CEO, even if you're a team of one. With a mindset as bold as his peanut butter, lettuce, and mayo sandwiches, yes, you heard that correctly, Jaye is here to show us how adapting a growth mindset can take your business to the next level. Please welcome Jaye Hohman. Jaye, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Nathan. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We're glad you're here. So this happened. This Disney World as a child, is that right?
Yes, at a very young, impressionable age. And
did it terrify you of Disney or of birds or both?
Birds. I'm one of the few people probably that don't like to even eat chicken because I don't like poultry at all anymore. I mean, I'll have eggs.
I feel like you would use that as a way to get back at them by eating the chicken, but I don't know. Maybe not.
Good point, but no, it didn't work that way.
Have you ever watched Hitchcock's? Have you ever watched Birds, the Hitchcock's movie?
Oh, of course. Yeah, It's a great movie.
Is that terrifying?
Yes. Yes.
Traumatizing.
What are you most looking forward to today, Jaye?
I celebrated my 1-year anniversary yesterday for being in business. So I'm excited to tell a little bit about, what I've learned in the last year and hopefully learn something from the other guest and the three of you.
Well, maybe in our guest deep dive, we can get into a little more of the mayo on the peanut butter and the lettuce. We'll have to kind of table that for later, but we'll see how that came about. But let's bring in our final guest this morning, flying planes at 15, rocking the radio waves, and somehow missing his own award ceremony. Richard Grady has mastered the art of soaring to new heights, even when he's not in the cockpit. As a leader of the Collin County Veterans Coalition, he knows that thinking like a CEO isn't just about business. It's about service, strategy, and maybe even a little ketchup in your chicken noodle soup. Get ready for a conversation that will change your mindset and lift your leadership to new altitudes. Please welcome Richard Grady.
Well, good morning.
So ketchup in the chicken noodle soup, huh?
Yeah, it adds a new tang to it.
Okay. I mean, I guess I could see that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a whole different flavor. It's people drink or eat tomato soup. People eat chicken noodle soup. I combine the two.
Well, I mean, I guess that works. So what are you looking forward to today?
Finishing up some of the things that we're doing for the veterans to take them out to the Medal of Honor Museum on Medal of Honor Day next Tuesday.
Medal of Honor. Oh, that's what you guys were talking about in the pre-show that y'all are working on the 25th, right?
That's correct.
Well, why don't you let's actually, I want to ask you a couple questions about that. We'll table that for our next segment. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's happening in our community, updates, important events, and some inside info that you will want to know. So stick around. We'll be right back on the Community Difference Plano.
The Community Difference Plano is made possible by Nathan Smith with Summit Financial, Harvey Lucier with Twilight Cleaning Services, Tracy Duff with Assisted Living Locators, Jacqueline Kreider with Financial Mastery Simplified, Susanna Austin with K9 Resorts, Audra Hooper with Audra Hooper Integrated Health, Cyndi Durrance with A Place at Home, and by Kirk Hodgson with Assured Partners. The Community Difference Plano. Together, we can make the difference. And now, back to the show.
Are you ready?
Because it's time for
What's Up Plano?
What's Up Plano, brought to you by Love and War in Texas. Get ready to experience the true heart of Texas at Love and War in Texas, right there in Plano. Savor authentic Texas cuisine, from barbecue and wild game to Gulf seafood, all while enjoying live music from some of Texas's best artists. Whether you're craving a taste of the Lone Star State or looking for a fun night out, this iconic spot has it all. Visit Love and War in Texas and discover why it's the perfect blend of Texas flavor and spirit. All right. Speaking of, we will be at Love and War in Texas a week from today. Our monthly BDA, Business Development Alliance, with guest speakers and our panel topic discussion for the month. We will be there on Wednesday. Normally it's been the fourth Thursday. Okay. But we're moving it to the fourth Wednesday. And you may say, well, aren't you guys on the air during that time? We are. We're actually going to pre-record early. And starting in April, we'll be broadcasting on Tuesdays at 11:30. So come join us a week from today at Love and War in Texas for our monthly Business Development Alliance. Meet some other local business owners, hear from community leaders, and get some great coaching on some of the topics that we talk about right here on the First up, a couple of things that are happening that we want to discuss. One, the Veterans Job Fair, right? It's a big event coming up in partnership with the American Legion right there in downtown Plano, May 31st. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West will be a special guest out there with us. This is the sign-up sheet for veterans. Scan the QR code. If you need the actual link, we can provide that as well. Scan the QR code. It's obviously free. Join the job fair as a veteran. And then as a business owner, we're looking to have at least 35 businesses out there. We also have some first responder departments that are hiring. We've got people that help with resume writing. It's only $200 for business, which is actually kind of on the low end for registering to be part of a job fair from a business standpoint from people that are hiring. And then if you're a veteran-owned business, it's only going to be $100. So that's fantastic. And, glad to have Richard Grady here with us today, head of the Collin County Veterans Coalition. And he's going to be helping us out with this event, spreading the word. Hopefully, Richard, you'll be able to make it out there with us. Why is this such an important event? Why are you excited about this, what we're putting on?
Well, I think it's important for our veterans. When you're in the military, you have everything provided for. Typically, you have your room, your board, most of your clothing. You have a job, so you're earning income. And when you leave the military, and we see this with our veterans, when you leave the military, all of that disappears overnight. So if you haven't really prepared yourself for civilian work, it can be fairly traumatic for those that have just left the military and are now looking for a civilian occupation. And that it's important from a career standpoint, a job fair standpoint, to have other people around them that are veterans, because veterans, military people and veterans communicate with each other very well. And they may have a little bit of hesitancy communicating with people that are not. So it's kind of a language you learn, a body habit that you learn when you're in the military. It's important to find occupations for them as quickly as possibly as we can.
Well, and that's what we're hoping to do. And so we appreciate you partnering with us and helping with that as we get going. Now, you guys have something coming up that's equally as important, but much more quickly. I think it's next Tuesday, correct?
That is correct.
And why don't you just share that with it? And Cyndi, feel free to jump in. I know Cindy's helping you with it as well.
Yeah. The March 25th is Medal of Honor Day in the United States. And the Medal of Honor Museum in Arlington, Texas is having their grand opening on March 25th. So we have worked with the museum there to take veterans from this area, Collin County, and go over and visit the Medal of Honor Museum in Arlington, Texas. So it'll be actually a wonderful day. We hired a coach bus. So we have 56 people on the bus and a bunch of chaser cars for those that are handicapped and could not be on the bus. And we will go over for a portion of the day to view all of the stories. It's a biographical museum. So it's just not artifacts that you find in a museum. It's biographical stories of every recipient of the Medal of Honor.
And I believe that, they tried to build that in DC originally and couldn't get it done. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, in DC, it takes an act of Congress to build anything in that area known as Washington, D.C. And so it originally was, the thinking was, well, we'll build it in Washington, D.C. When that didn't work out, there was a Medal of Honor museum in South Carolina at the USS Lexington. There wasn't enough footprint around the USS Lexington to build the museum. So it basically went up for a bid to find out where was the house going to be. And the decisions really boiled down to two places: San Diego, California, or Denver, Colorado. And so that was still being worked on when an individual joined the board by the name of Charlotte Jones. The last name may be familiar. It is the daughter of Jerry Jones. And when they said the museum individuals were saying, we're looking for a piece of land, she said, I believe that Daddy has a piece of land. And so it is now in Arlington, Texas, very near the Cowboys Stadium and the Ranger Stadium.
Well, I feel like you gave me a piece of breaking news that the federal government is inefficient. I didn't know that until just now. So thank you for
we're trying to build a monument out there. So we had an act of Congress. Congress passed a bill to allow us to build a Medal of Honor monument on the National Mall, and we have to go through 2 more acts of Congress. The second one will be what the design will be and what the piece of land will be. So those are the 2 things. We're trying to build it within 1,000 feet of the Lincoln Memorial, because Abraham Lincoln is the one that signed the act to make the Medal of Honor the medal it is today.
You think that would be a pretty simple process for something so important, but obviously it's not. Well, Richard, thank you so much. I appreciate that. A couple of other things just to touch on here. Not tomorrow. This Saturday, we've been talking about it for a couple months. This Saturday, Texas Forever Fest, 11 to 6 out at Haggard Park. Great music, great venue. It's going to be a ton of local businesses, food. If you're one of those people if you're a person that likes to go to Sam's on the sample day, they give you the samples when you walk around, or Costco, you're going to love this event, obviously for the business connections, but also everybody's sharing their special, jams and jellies and salsas and all the things they do. It's a great way to meet people, great live music, different cultures, music from different cultures. It's going to be a really, really neat event. So if you're looking for something to do with the family, Texas Forever Fest, the biggest, best Texas Independence Day celebration. I know it's about 3 weeks after Texas Independence Day, but it's you got to kind of get excited and ramp up to it. So that's going to be this Saturday from 11 to 6 p.m. And then come out also for bingo night next Friday, 7 to 9, downtown Plano, McCall Plaza, right there by Fillmore Pub. Bingo is, I've never played bingo in my life till I went on a date with my wife to the bingo parlor right next to our house. It was very inexpensive and it was amazing. And it was actually a lot of fun. So bingo outdoors is going to be beautiful weather. And then if you are a singer, right, or even if you're not a singer, come out and make everyone else laugh. That'll be fun. Karaoke Under the Stars, Friday, April 4th. That's the first Friday in April, also in downtown Plano. All right, Cyndi, the circus is coming to town. Where do we need to go to watch it?
Okay. The Bernardo Circus is at the Red Tail Amphitheater from March 20th to the 23rd and the 26th to the 30th. And this gentleman, Kevin Bernardo, was a ringmaster with Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey Circus, and he has put together in 2014 his first show was in the LA County Fair. I personally saw them at the Miller Outdoor Theater in 2017 in Houston. And it's a really cool combination between a Broadway show and a circus. And they have 6 to 8 very interesting acts. And you just have to see it to believe it. It's very well done. There's music, there's talent, there's singing. It's worth the show. You would really enjoy it.
And Red Tail, of course, is right there off of Spring Creek, very East Plano, Oak Point Nature Preserve right there, where they have the Balloon Festival, where they have the Flags of Honor each year. So a great opportunity to come out. It's going to be a very fun event. Give us the date one more time.
It is March 20th to March 23rd and March 26th to March 30th.
I feel like the circus should make a comeback. Kirk, what do you think? Did you guys go to Ringling Brothers as a kid, or Jay? Did you guys ever make it out to like Reunion Arena back in the day?
Well, I did.
I was up in the Philadelphia area at the time, but we went to Ringling Brothers up there, and it was fantastic. And when we had a traveling circus that came through Allen many years ago now, took our kids to that. They got to touch elephants, and it's a great family opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like it's a kind of a no-brainer. And then you realize you're not good by watching other people fly through the air and twirl around and do all kinds of crazy things. So, well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Cyndi. When we come back, how to think like a CEO, even if you're a team of one, adopting a growth mindset to lead your business to new heights. We're going to dive in strong. Looking forward to hearing from both of our guests and our co-hosts this morning. Stick around. We'll be right back on the Community Difference Plano.
The Community Difference would like to thank each of the following partners for their continued support. At Fireboss Realty, we believe life is about relationships, and everything else is just details. Whether you're buying or selling, Scott and Amy Johnson are here to understand your family's unique needs and deliver expert guidance on the North Texas real estate market. With a reputation for integrity and personalized service, Fireboss Realty makes your home journey stress-free and successful. Ready to make your move? Visit firebossrealty.com and let's ignite your real estate dreams.
Everyone deserves access to affordable health insurance, but with traditional insurance, costs can be high and getting coverage can be complicated. JP Direct Health is a simpler, more affordable way to get the health coverage you need. With plans for individuals, families, and small businesses, you can save money on monthly premiums without the need for physicals. At jpdirecthealth.com, we specialize in customizing coverage to fit almost every budget with affordable PPO plans and many other benefits. With over 100 5-star Google reviews, JP Direct Health is a trusted resource making health insurance affordable and accessible for everyone year-round. Affordable health insurance solutions are a proactive protection, not a reactive solution. Visit jpdirecthealth.com today and see how much you can save.
I'm always here to help. Thank you.
Total Care Emergency Room now has 9 locations in the DFW Metroplex. With no appointment needed, our incredible staff will get you checked in with no wait times. Our 5-star facility is open and fully staffed 24/7. We offer extensive treatment options for patients of all ages, providing on-site labs and imaging equipment, including CT, X-ray, and ultrasound, allowing us to provide fast, convenient care for our community. Total Care ER is your neighborhood emergency room. TotalCare.us.
Unwanted pests in your home can be stressful. From creepy crawlies to critters under the floorboards, they disrupt your peace of mind. But don't worry. All Pest Solutions is here to help. We offer a comprehensive range of safe and effective pest control solutions. We target all types of pests, big or small, including insects, rodents, and wildlife. All Pest Solutions, your local experts for a pest-free home. Breathe easy and enjoy your life again. Call today for a free quote. 972-442-1169 or email us at customerservice@allpestsolutions.com.
To belong is one of our most basic human needs. Best Buddies International is the world's largest organization dedicated to ending the social isolation of 200 million individuals who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. We focus on meaningful one-to-one friendships, integrated employment, leadership development, and inclusive living. You have the power to make an impact, create change, and champion our mission of inclusion today.
Now back to the show.
All right, as we jump right into our topic, you'll see it scrolling across the bottom of the screen this morning. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs think they're building a business, but in fact, instead they're building sort of a job. They're ramping up to own a job, right? A lot of people got out of working for someone else, having a job to instead of owning a job. And so today we're going to talk about the shift of thinking like a CEO, going through some of the ideas, the concepts behind making that thought shift into doing the things that a CEO would do, right? And you may be kind of having to, depending on where you're at in your business, you kind of have to bifurcate your attention from working in the business to working on the business. But if you never make that mental shift, then you're always kind of spinning your wheels at a job that you own, in a sense. And so you're still trading time for money with no real way of scaling or exiting that stage, okay? And so I want to start with this. And we haven't talked about this the previous 2 weeks. And one of the things that a small business owner will do a lot of times is just say yes to everything. Okay. And I see this happening a lot with, I'll just give you an example as we're thinking through this, networking groups, right? As a small business owner, do you want to make connections? Yes. Right. Do you want to build relationships? Absolutely. Right. But you want to do that in a way that's sustainable and scalable. But what we see a lot of times, and we see this with people that have come be a part of the difference in our community, is that they got this network group here, this chamber here, this thing here, that thing there, and it's just yes, because they feel like if I can just do enough things that magically I'll get the referrals and the business will grow and all that. And you may get the referrals, but you're going to drive yourself insane before your business really takes off the ground. On the flip side, CEOs say no to a lot of things because of their focus. So let's talk about why do people get into the yes trap and how do we switch to the no, the discerning no, I guess is a better way of putting that.
I'll jump in a little bit there.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
just say, I think, when you're starting off in business, the idea is more is better. And it takes some maturation in the business to come to realization that more is not always better. To your earlier point, I think about in the insurance business where folks are not focused on a segment, but they are open to everything. They're kind of the a generalist and master of none kind of thing. And I think that's part of the problem with, taking too much and saying yes to too many things.
Well, you bring up a good point because saying yes to too many things as far as like, different markets, different niches, etc. If you're going to build a sustainable pipeline, you got to find your niche. Like, what is your target audience, your target market, right? And a lot of people don't start there. They just feel like, even if you have a wide, breadth, if you will, of market, which, my industry, yes, kind of probably with Jaye, Kirk, a lot of people need insurance. You still have to find your wheelhouse, your specialty, the type of person, the type of business, whatever that you can relate with the most. And if you try to do a wide sweep, man, you may get a lot of people, but you're not turning that into a business. You're turning that into just a referral wheel. Cyndi, it looks like you were going to say something. I think I cut you off. Sorry.
No, what I was going to say is there's a big fear of failure. You want to just cast that wide net because you're like, I need the money. I have to make this succeed. Instead of focusing on who can make me succeed, you're looking at the numbers and not the person or the business or the type of business that you want to do business with.
I think that's very important. And it comes down to, the larger point of what we want to talk about is where are you? Step one is where are you going, right? And sometimes when we start out in business, it's like, I just got to make money. And that's true. Got to pay the bills. And so you do whatever it takes to do that. And I wouldn't tell people to not do that, right? That's kind of an important step. But then the whole idea of the conversation today is, okay, well, as we're doing that, as we're doing what it takes to get by, to pay the bills, food on the table, are we thinking in a way that's going to help us transform those efforts into something that's more sustainable long term? Jaye, how long have you been in business in your business?
I've been in the mortgage industry for going on 30 years, but I've had my own company now for just 1 year.
That's right. You just said, you just celebrated 1 year. Okay. So you went from mortgage to your own company. Talk about that transition. Did you fall into that trap in any way, or did you learn from, watching the company that you were in? So walk us through that process.
Yeah, lucky for me, I probably started a mortgage company at the absolute worst time to ever do so in the last 40 years, right? So, I've been fortunate enough to have plenty of time to develop a business model and try to work through what I can focus on that will really add value and separate me from my competition. I think mortgages are really like a commodity, and so but there are very specific needs that people have, and so developing a real finding an underserved market or focusing on something that you're really, really good at is where you can develop that long-term business model instead of just grasping it, trying to find the next deal, right? Which is, I think, what you were, exactly what you were saying before. And sometimes you have to, right, to keep the lights on. Yeah. But at the same time, I think it's been valuable for me to kind of experiment with a few different strategies to develop how can I really grow this business into something more than just a one person shop.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of focus and time to kind of figure that out and suss what might work. Yeah.
Well, and that you're thinking that is good, and see, that's what we want to try to challenge people, because a lot of times you'll wake up and you've been think of your real estate agents, right? Your handyman businesses, or people that are in the roofers. They're really good at their trade. They own the business, but they're kind of working in the business the whole time. And I think sometimes we talk ourselves into the fact that we like it, but also we'd all like to have the freedom of building something that sustains and operates itself. Not that we're not looking out over it, right? But that we don't have to be involved in the day-to-day as much. And that's where you get to enjoy the fruits of being a business owner. So many people get stuck in that S quadrant, right? If you guys are familiar with the cash flow quadrant, they get stuck in that self-employed quadrant where they're still trading time for money. They either have a lot of time and not a lot of money, or a lot of money and not a lot of time. And they don't know how to make that transition to the other side where you truly have a business that's not just, just because you have an LLC doesn't make you a business owner. Maybe to the state and to taxes, but practicality, right? From a practical standpoint, not. So that's a great point. Richard, in your experience of it, you've been in the military, you've been a part of organizations for a long time. You've seen good leadership, you've seen good vision, you've seen probably bad leadership and bad vision in certain examples. As a team of one, what would you suggest? You starting off a business. How do you start casting that vision to where you can see yourself getting out of the referral trap? Which again, like Jay said, you might have to be in that for a little while. But as long as you're making those incremental steps each day after you've done the grind or whatever you want to call it, you're moving in the right direction. How would you challenge people to make sure they're not forgetting where they're wanting to go?
Well, Nathan, I think that early on you used the right word. And I'm going to approach this from a little bit of an angle that I'm also a deal partner with Blackmore Partners, which is a private equity firm. You said the word focus. And to me, that is extremely important when I'm talking with entrepreneurs or with businesses that are looking to expand and are looking at private equity or capital investment in order to help their business expand. We're looking at, what are you focused on? What is your market? What are you doing? And when you said CEOs have a tendency to say no frequently, where self-employed people have a tendency to say yes, we see that from the standpoint of what is the actual focus that you're trying to accomplish? What do you really want to accomplish? And is this additive to what you are doing, or is this subtractive to what you are doing? If it is subtractive, you're going to have a hesitancy to say no, because it is going to take away from what your mission is and what your focus is. So when we look at companies, for example, to back them, we're looking at them as the anchor company. And then to grow it in certain aspects, we look for bolt-ons that fit their company, fit their industry, and make them larger and more profitable when they do so.
And you can take that and scale it down to the thought process of a team of one, right? And what are the activities that I'm doing? Are they adding to where I'm wanting to go? My scalability, multiplying myself, right? Learning how to, when the right time to hire is, maybe usually before you're ready. That's usually the best time to hire. But it's all about making those thought processes and then putting it on paper. And exactly like you said, then when the things come up that could distract you, no, this is not going to actually add to my focus and my goal. Our model.
Add to that a little bit, Nathan, is take a read of what Stephen and Allison Ellsworth did with their company. Today it's called Poppy. It's a soda company, but it used to be called Mother's Beverage. And it was Allison Ellsworth who got tired of soda, the flavor of soda, and what it did to her. And so she invented a different type of blend of a process to develop a soda that didn't have all of the sugars and additives that are in it. She developed that in her kitchen in about 2015, took it to the Dallas Farmers Market to demonstrate and to sell to individuals. And it just so happened at that time that there was a buyer from Whole Foods that walked by, sampled it, and said, we can sell this in our stores. And just recently, after about now 10 years into this development, Stephen and Allison Ellsworth sold their company to PepsiCo for nearly $2 billion.
Wow. That's incredible. And it's because they had the right focus. They had the right thought process with what they were wanting to do. Jay, not to put you on the spot too much, you share everything, but you're just starting out in business. Obviously, you've been in the industry for many, many years. As prepared for this topic, is there anything that came to your mind like, yeah, I dealt with this, or I'm struggling with this is how I overcame, or maybe from a different perspective, here's the things that you're doing to, already thinking like a CEO to scale up. You want to be at this point by, next year. What are some of those markers you got there? And ask you that because I think it'll be helpful for people that just started a business, especially in the mortgage industry, but in general, to kind of figure out, okay, am I tracking, am I thinking the way I should be early on?
Yeah, I think the thing that kind of stood out in my mind in this debate in my head about, growing the business and how I might be able to express this to people was, along with focus, it's also a discipline, to continue to really figure out how I'm going to grow or what kind of strategy is going to work. And I think it all really boils down to finding a demand that you can exploit, right? And that's kind of a negative way of saying it, but it's finding a need that you can serve, right, as a maybe more positive spin on it. And so in order to do that, you really have to kind of really be forward looking. Like the demand a year ago or 5 years ago in the mortgage industry is a lot different than what I expect it to be next year. And so I'm trying to, develop marketing and a network and different strategies in order to grow into what I expect that demand to be, where that demand is going to come from. And so it's really more, a proactive mindset rather than a reactive mindset. I've seen a lot of companies that, they try to expand and their timing is off because they're expanding based on, somebody else's projections of what might happen without really having a deep enough understanding of what, better understanding of what will happen. So their timing is off, and then they're hiring before they have any demand, right? And so trying to be like proactive and figure out what my expectations are, what the market expectations are. And this could be applied to any industry, I assume, right? Like the beverage example, right? People are shifting away from, things that they might consider more toxic now. And so, that was smart to do that. And obviously it paid off. So if you just want to create another soda, like that's probably not a good business model, right? You need to find I think I'm trying to develop a way to find like a demand that's going to be needed in the future based on how the market might look over the next 6 months to a year. And then also even like going forward in the future, you always have to, as a CEO, you have to change and develop what your, the market that you're going to serve, because that demand is going to change, right? So the whole idea of like relying upon a referral business or referral for leads and for business development is not, I think that's a failed business model, because whatever those referrals, you might expect to have because of the business that you served in the past, like that demand may be a lot different, right? Might be a different set of customers that are like a different age group, perhaps, that is going to need a service in the future, right? And so the referrals of one age group they're not going to, the previous customers that you had, right, that you expect referrals from, a year from now or 5 years from now, that might change, right? If they're not going to be able to provide those referrals because they're not in that age bracket anymore, the age bracket where the new demand is coming from. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. How do you? So this kind of goes to another point about thinking the long game, right? That's the strategy, but you also obviously you have to be, unless you've developed something pretty quickly, right? It's expanding rapidly. You do play the short game, and you got to make money, right? But how do you decide, or how do you keep yourself attuned to continuing to think about what's happening in the future, but also making sure that you're profitable now, you're making money now, making what you need to make now, and then also knowing, because you talk about finding a need, exploiting can be a bad word, but I understand what you mean by it. But you probably realize you're not going to be able to meet that need entirely by yourself. So you've got to scale. So how do you focus on the today, but then also figure out, hey, I'm working on finding a need that no one else is seeing, but I've got to grow in capacity to be able to meet that need. I can't just do it all alone. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's, the niche idea plays into that as well, I would suggest, right? So yeah, I'm trying to find a demand where I expect demand to come from this market segment. And I also know that I can develop myself or brand myself as a niche player to that expected need, right? So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I want to kind of talk back to you. You talked about you just flat out said it, the referral model long-term, strategy is not really good, because at any point in time, those can change or stop or whatnot. And I think you're 100% right about that. So the question I want to ask to everybody, anybody that want to pop in, how do you build a business that generates revenue when you're not, actively working in it, right? Because that's really what we're talking about. And we talk about this even outside of these topics. This topic, we've been talking about that from December, using social media to shorten the sales cycle, turning social media into service media, building an ecosystem is a term that we use a lot. All of this is designed to help out of the referral game where most people are trapped. Okay. So I'll open this up. Richard, Cyndi, Kirk, what are some ways that you guys are thinking about that? Again, I want to make it clear, we're not demonizing referrals. Don't turn down money. That would be dumb. But if you're constantly waking up trying to find the next referral, then you're not really free. And I think that's why people become entrepreneurs. They want to build something where they can be free. And that's ultimately important. So back to the question, what are some things, or what are some ways to the rest of you guys that you can be thinking about, getting out of the referral game while maybe you're kind of in it at this point in your business career?
What I can say is mine comes through community education. I am associated with a company, I won't go too far off, that is on a pilot project with Medicare. And they are putting together a home care basis of hospital readmissions. They want to prevent the hospital readmissions and save more money. And there are certain diagnoses that they have that they're studying of how that we can help these people outside the hospital that prevent them from coming back. Same thing with University of North Texas. We're doing a pilot program with them and studying the effects of home care in our society and how it has been a positive influence on the family and given the caregivers, i.e. the children, an opportunity to live their lives. And those things are all going to come full circle. When all this is passed, we're going to need caregivers that we do not have. There is already a caregiver shortage. So right now, I believe that we are cultivating relationships with our caregivers to meet that future need. I don't want to be on the phone. I don't want to be on Indeed or Monster constantly trying to fill shifts and get someone in there in 2 weeks. I want to take care of the people that I have and have them be the best advertisement for me. And also when it comes to case managers, social workers, nurses, and physicians' offices, those are my referral sources. They need educated that they can refer, and it's not going to be private pay out of the patient's pocket or out of the client's pocket. And these days, that makes a really big difference to physicians because they're paid on a scale. And if they have too many admissions, their pay gets cut. So it is a hodgepodge for me today. I hope it will become clearer as the months and years move forward of exactly what the focus is on exactly what to do. But those are six focuses that we're working on now, and training people in the office and training people to care for our clients in the way they need to be cared for.
Kirk, as we're going to transition out of our topic into, well, kind of wrap up our topic with our What's the Difference segment in just a moment. But Kirk, as we kind of transition here, what would you say if you're starting a business? Jay's been in business for just right at a year. Others have been in business longer. But if you're starting a business, any industry, what kind of the day that you would recommend to people to? Yes, you got to work in your business, right? But how to work on your business, specifically thinking about some of these things, thinking like a CEO, learning to say no, right? Thinking about how to multiply, to scale, to get out of the referral rat race, right? There's an employee rat race. There's also a referral rat race. What would be kind of your number one thing? Let's start here that you would give from an advice standpoint for people in that situation.
Well, I think as you've established yourself in your vocation, the idea of hiring additional people to continue to carry the message, to deliver the service that you're doing. I think the dermatologist that I've gone to, I think I saw the dermatologist once in 3 years because I always was taken care of by PAs. And I mean, that's a resounding successful business for this particular dermatologist. And he's got great PAs that are working. So having those quality people underneath you, taking charge, delivering the service, delivering the promise, and really helping to highlight your brand. I thought about like a mechanic shop. You might not, as the owner, you might not know how to turn a wrench, but if you're getting the best, mechanics that can fix an Audi, best mechanics that can fix a BMW, you've got that reputation that you can deliver on. And those things will feed itself with new opportunities and continued growth.
I love that. I think that's a great place to stop here. As we wrap up our topic, we're going to transition into what's the difference. So let's do that.
And now it's time for What's the Difference?
All right. What's the difference? Where I ask you a simple question between what's the difference between two different things, concepts, etc. You give me your quick 20, 30-second answer. If you ramble on too long, we're going to buzz you, but don't get upset. It's just all in fun. We haven't had to buzz anybody in a long time, so hopefully that won't happen. All right. Let's start with you, Richard. What's the difference between building a business and building a brand?
Something that carries on for a long period of time is a brand. Something that builds a business is simply can be short term.
Yeah, and specifically building a business focuses on like revenue, operations, profitability. But like you said, brand is about recognition, impact, long-term effect. I love that. Think about Nike as an example. Nike is not just a shoe company. It's a brand. People see Nike. It's a cultural thing. Whether you like them, hate them, doesn't matter. It's not just about shoes anymore. And so they've built that image. And sometimes, if you don't like them, that's still positive for them because that's, the old adage, any news is good news. May or may not be true. I don't know. What's the difference? Let's go with Cyndi. What's the difference between thinking like a CEO and thinking like an employee?
Well, I think when you think like an employee, you're thinking job security. And when you're thinking like a CEO, you are job focused. And, when you're, I've heard this said in many ways, when you're a CEO, you go to sleep at night and you're making money. If you are a business owner or employee, nobody's making money for you while you're sleeping.
Yeah. So you're talking about kind of being that self-employed culture. I agree. Thinking like a CEO, you're talking about focusing on, or excuse me, like an employee is just, if you work for somebody else at some point in your career, you're focused on tasks, job security, right? Executing what you're supposed to. CEO, on the other hand, is about vision, scalability, growth, and building value beyond just what the business day-to-day does. So I think that's a great point.
You said it better than I did.
Yeah. Jay, what is the difference between growth and scaling? Growth and scaling.
I would say the difference is growth is like expanding into different product lines, maybe, right? So you're growing different revenue streams, where scaling is serving more customers in the same revenue stream, or the same distributing that product to more customers, right? Rather than diverse products to more customers.
Yeah, I think that's great. You talk about growth, and they're both good. Growth is more revenue for customers, adding more resources, but scaling is the multiplication of that. Exactly, getting efficiency, your leverage, leveraging systems is where you're actually doing something at a more efficient pace, which is fantastic. Let's do Kirk. What is the difference between influence and authority? Influence and authority.
So I think influence is somebody who has the trust, and when working with people, they value their opinion. They're part of the team. They bring value, and they don't necessarily have the title. And I think about in our group with the high net worth spectrum, we get different clients with different complex situations. We come together as a team to kind of talk through some of the areas of need and risk management. Whereas somebody with authority, they may not have that. They may just have the title, and they're just telling people what to do, and they may not have the respect of those that are working with them.
Yeah, you could almost say that people with influence have authority, but somebody with authority has influence. And I think it's important to see it's not backwards compatible there. I think that's a great way of putting it. All right, last question. This is open, first come, first serve. What's the difference between creating demand and capturing demand? Creating demand and capturing demand.
So I'll take half of that and just talk about creating demand. You're educating the market, you're shaping perception. And that's something that we do quite oftentimes as we're doing risk analysis between different insurance companies, when we highlight the different coverages that are available and oftentimes lacking in a current policy. We're creating that demand of why you need to use us and why you need to use this insurance company for the betterment of your protection.
Yeah, I would add to it, the difference between it is the difference between Apple and AT&T. Apple created demand for their product, something that everybody thought, do I really need that? And they created that demand. AT&T captures demand because they are a very large telecommunications company, but they don't use these devices. They use somebody else's device.
If you're capturing demand, you are targeting the people that know what you do and want what you have. You just have to go after them. You have to go after them. Like Apple, you mentioned Apple, I'm going to segue. The iPhone's been out since 2007. They have captured my business. I've had an Apple iPhone since 2007. They captured my business once, and they didn't have to go after it again.
Yeah, I think I cut out there for just a second, but yeah, what you were saying, Richard, is a perfect example. Are you creating the demand in the sense that you are building the circumstances by which people feel like they need something, or are you just sweeping in people that already need what you have or what you're offering? I think that's a really great way of putting a great example. Awesome segment, guys. Awesome topic segment. We'll have one more next week with our co-host Audra Hooper and Susanna Austin. Cyndi and Kirk, Richard and Jay, thank you so much. When we come back, we're going to jump into a deep dive with Richard and Jay, get to know them a little better. So stick around. We'll be right back on the Community Difference Plano.
At the Community Difference Business Development Alliance, powered by the Difference Media LLC, our mission is to empower small business owners by transcending acceptable behaviors and outcomes into exceptional realms. We foster a culture of self-awareness, accountability, and proactive engagement, guiding individuals to recognize and overcome indifference towards transformative actions, habits, behaviors, and processes driving meaningful change. Through strategic networking, impactful content creation, and innovative top-of-mind strategies, we cultivate brand relevance and differentiation, enabling our partners and the Difference community to stand out in crowded markets. With a focus on building authentic connections, amplifying brand presence, and driving sustainable growth, we equip entrepreneurs with the tools and mindset to navigate the complexities of entrepreneurship with confidence, innovation, and resilience. Together, we aim to be the catalyst for difference makers, propelling them towards their highest potential and leaving a lasting impact on their businesses and communities. That's where our community podcasts come in. These podcasts lie directly at the intersection of innovative business development and community involvement, helping to bridge the gap between small business obscurity often seen in our communities. The community-based podcasts called the Community Difference Series are an integral part of integrating all facets of modern business development into a package of great content, positive impact branding, and top-of-mind presence, thus fulfilling the greater mission we set forth. When we set out to be difference makers, we can learn to make a difference and find the success and impact innately desired by all business owners and entrepreneurs. We are difference makers.
All right, as we come into our final segment today, want to dive in deep with Richard and Jaye. First of all, guys, thank you so much for being on today. It's been a pleasure so far. We like to start this segment with just a couple of fun, kind of quirky questions, and I'm really interested to hear Richard's answer to this. So, Richard, if you could have any superpower, but only for one day, what would it be?
I'm not certain because I've never thought of a superpower other than healing a lot of people that are hurting.
Okay, well, that's a great superpower. So I love that. I think that's fantastic. I wish you would have it for more than a day, but yeah, it's wonderful. Jaye, what about you?
Would time travel be considered a superpower?
Yeah, I feel like we're going to count it. We're going to count it for sure. Where would you go?
I would go, I don't know, I'd go back 25 years and make sure I, got all the sports scores and the stock market activity. And
so you pull a Marty McFly from Back to the Future 2, basically?
Yeah, exactly.
With the sports book or whatever it was. Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
I mean, you could do a lot with that, right? You could prevent wars. You could fix a lot of problems. Find out if you really shot JFK. I don't know.
I think we'll find that out today, hopefully. I feel like yesterday, maybe I got a chance to look at those files that got released, but maybe the answer was in there. Richard, if you could, I know as business owners, we don't really watch TV. I know we have guilty pleasures every once in a while, but do you have an all-time favorite show or something that you might stream or something you're watching right now? If you had to pick something, what would it be?
My all-time favorite show was The West Wing.
Well, okay, that was a great show. It was Kirk Douglas, right?
Actually, it was.
No, it was Martin Sheen. I don't know why I get them confused. I don't know why.
Writing, great direction.
Yes, I don't know why I get them confused, but I always do. So they don't really look anything alike either. What about you, Jaye?
I have a lot. I'm going to stick with what I said before. There's a show called Person of Interest where.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they're trying to prevent somebody from getting killed in the future because they know that that something bad is going to happen. So it's time travel, but forward, not backwards.
That's Jim Caviezel, right? In that hint, in Jim Caviezel in that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it is. That's the guy that played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ. Same guy.
Yes. I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Great show. It came out about 10 or 12 years ago. That was good. I love that show. Well, let's get a little deeper here. Share with me. I'll start with you, Jaye. What kind of a personal anecdote about a moment in time that really changed who you are, shaped who you are, whether it be, brought you to, the business owner you are today, or, pivotal moment that led you to being involved in this community? Take it either way.
I have to say the Dodd-Frank Act. When the Dodd-Frank Act was passed, it pretty much, I was working in New York at the time as an investment banker in the mortgage-backed securities space on private securitizations, and it basically put up roadblocks so that private securitizations of mortgages, residential mortgages, couldn't be completed. And like I called my wife the day that happened, that it was passed, and I read like page 961 or whatever it was, and I'm like, no, we're gonna have to move somewhere else because I'm not gonna be able to make the kind of money I was making then. And it took me 5 years to convince my wife from New York that Texas was the best place to go. And
how does she feel now?
Pardon?
How does she feel now?
About a month after we moved here, she told me that she was really happy that we moved here and grateful. And like I said, I had spent 5 years trying to convince her to move. So I had to really bite my lip and my tongue at that time. But yeah, she likes it. She's not too fond of the heat, but it's been
well,
great.
No one's fond of the heat. So when that happened, was it, and did you have a crap moment, or like, was it kind of scary? Like, how am I going to survive? Or you just kind of have to figure it out? Like, what were some of the emotions going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same mindset I was trying to convey before. It's adapting, right? Adapting to a changing business environment. And that's what I had to do. Right. So I did. And luckily, I was able to, instead of working in the capital markets and the mortgage side of the business, I started originating loans directly to consumers. And it was pretty enlightening, and it's been a journey, but it's been good.
Richard, what about you? What was a defining moment that shaped you, either in business or, in the service, or just anything that brought you to where you are today?
I'm going to say it was a clue, and it was a clue from the Bible. It's Psalm 23. So let me tell you how I got there. I carried a card in my pocket when I was in Vietnam. It was Psalm 23. It was always in my pocket. I didn't think much of it, but it was given to me by an individual stateside that said, "You'll need this, carry this with you." Many years later, disaster strikes, and Jaye had a good word, which was adapt. Disaster strikes when I lost both my parents and my wife in the same year within a 4-month period of time. And so your life begins to crater. And I was upset beyond belief, and having just issues coping with all of the things that were going on. And I thought I needed to read a little bit more and get my mind back together again. But I was frustrated. So taking the Bible and doing something that you shouldn't do, I pitched it across the room because I was angry. And when it hit the floor, it opened up. And when I went to pick it up, it opened up to Psalm 23.
Of course,
and I thought, this is the message. And at that point in time, I began to recover. And I think at that point in time, I also developed a heart for all of those, especially veterans, but all of those that are struggling in life and just simply need a hand to reach in and help them out of the whirlpool.
Well, Richard, are you from the area originally? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin, which, by the way, in our earlier discussion, was just about 45 miles south of Baraboo, Wisconsin, the home of Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus, and where the clown school is. So,
didn't even know there was a clown school, but now
there is a clown school.
Feel good about knowing that.
If you want to be a clown with Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, you have to go to the Clown University and learn how to be a clown.
Kirk, if things don't work out for us, we'll head out to the clown school. That'll be our last resort.
It's a great time. It's a great time to go and watch them. But no, I grew up there. EDS brought me down here, Ross Perot. So after I left the military and was working, I was working for a small company. Ross bought that company. And in the interview process, he said, "You need to move down here." And I was glad to do that because at that time, the vast majority of the employees within EDS were veterans.
Well, I know. So you moved here at some point, Jay. You moved, not too long ago. I guess a little while ago. But you guys didn't grow up here. At what point did you figure out, hey, this is? I know you had to talk your wife Jay into moving to Texas, but at what point did you guys figure out, this is where we're calling home? This is where we belong, and why specifically Plano, Collin County area? What is it that you just connect with here? I'll start with you, Jay.
Well, over those 5 years, like every list that I perused about, where the best schools are, where the lowest unemployment rate is, it was always Plano, Texas, and it's been great. I mean, we like it. We've seen so much growth. It's kind of sad, really. I mean, the growth that we've seen in a way, because I like the farmland, and I think when we moved here, 11 years ago, I thought Frisco was like maybe, at least 50% farmland, and now it's probably only 5%.
Right.
But the opportunities have been great, and we've moved here with kids that were in school. Like the youngest was in third grade, the oldest was in third grade, and the youngest was in getting into kindergarten. So we committed on day one, right? We were going to be here, and we were going to be here for 15 years because of our kids, at least. And now I opened up a business, so it'll probably be another 15.
Yeah. Richard?
Well, I think that my first realization was when my brother in Madison texted me and said they had a 3-inch snowfall. I knew this was the place I wanted to be. But I got involved in the community. Even the title of the program resonates with me from the standpoint that I started getting on boards and commissions with the city to help people out. I eventually became a city councilman in the city of Plano to help people out and get an understanding of what is going on. So, my message to everybody is, if you want to be involved in your community, there's 2 positions that you can play. You can either be in the game on a committee or an organization working to help the community, or you can stand on the sideline and yell that the quarterback needs to do a better job. And I don't listen a lot to the guys that are standing on the sideline yelling that the quarterback needs to do a better job if they aren't in the game.
That's so funny. I never thought about people taking a kind of a Monday morning quarterback approach to their city life and politics and things that affect them. That's a great point. We talk about that a lot, how, the things that are happening in your city leaders, the politics of local life affect you far more abundantly and in mass than, say, national politics. And yet we get involved probably the same capacity we do locally, for the national scene, because it's always being thrown in our face, good or bad and different, but who controls your property tax? The city and the state. Who controls the schools? The city and the state. Who controls, how good the roads are and how good the business climate is, right? The city and the state. And so I completely agree. You can be yapping, but you also need to, take a foot forward. Vote for one. I mean, city elections are abysmal turnouts, which is tragic. But also, getting involved is great. We've had a lot of Plano city leaders on the show, and they've just been fantastic. I think that's really good advice. As we wrap up here, Kirk, give me 30 seconds on Jay. Tell Jay some good things about him to his face. We always talk good about people behind his back.
Yes,
now you can talk about it in front of his
Only
face.
30 seconds?
Only 30 seconds.
He's capping me, Jay. It's not my fault, but so Jay and I fairly new acquaintances and becoming friends, I think. But we met probably about a week and a half ago at another networking happy hour. And, you're supposed to meet a lot of people and pass business cards, whatever. I tend not to do that. I try to engage with somebody that we have some like interests, and just talking with Jay. Spent most of the time just chatting with Jay and finding out about his background, coming from Indiana, his kids, and going to school, and sharing a little bit about myself. So it was just a really engaging conversation. I'm always impressed with people that take the leap of faith and start their own business, because it's such a leap. And with Jay doing that and being truly entrepreneurial, I I just thought he was a great person. So I know maybe that my 30 seconds is up. I'm out.
Well, that was great. I love that. Cyndi, I give you the same tasks for Richard.
Well, I've known Richard for about 2 years now. I'm on the command team with the Collin County Veterans Coalition, and he's our president. And what I have learned and grown to know that he has a servant's heart. He has quite compassion for his fellow veterans and wants to see them succeed in all ways. And I don't know if there's anyone he doesn't know. When we discuss things, he'll say, well, I'll get a hold of them. He usually knows who we're talking about, and he does. And I really impressed at the devotion and causes that he takes up as a city council member with the city of Plano, making sure things are done right.
Well, I can tell that about Richard. We talk about all the time building an ecosystem of opportunity. It sounds like Richard has certainly done that. And so, Richard, I'll just turn it to you. Give us your biggest takeaway today and just anything you want our audience to know before we hop off.
Well, I think that we've had some very good discussion about the word focus and what we really need to do, especially as we're operating within a business and what we want to do in life. It may not just be a business. Maybe you don't want to be a leader in a business. You just want to be there. I mean, that's okay. But in life, you probably want to be in charge of what you are doing. And so have a focus. Take a look at what you want to accomplish in life. And that may just be some personal things. And if it is, fantastic. Focus on it, amplify it, add to it, be successful at it.
I couldn't say it any better than that. That was awesome. Jaye, final thoughts, what you took away, what you want everybody to know before we hop off.
Yeah, my final thought would be just to encourage anybody who is considering to start their own business to do so, right? You kind of have to, if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, like you should go for it, right? You should not chase your dreams, but make sure that you're grounded and have a plan of attack. But also something that I learned in in business school is to always run a business as if it's going to run into perpetuity, right? So it's going to run forever. And that's one of the things that kind of we didn't discuss, but and I think it is a big difference between being a CEO or business owner rather than somebody who's self-employed. If you have a mindset that you're going to grow the business as wide and as far and as long as you can, then you have to have that CEO mindset. Yeah,
that's fantastic. I think that's a great nugget to take away. Cyndi, Kirk, literally 20 seconds each. Cyndi, we'll start with you.
All right. I think it's more, I learned, and I definitely believe that it's more important to have influence than authority, because you can influence those in authority.
Kirk.
Yeah, I would just really appreciate the concept of moving to a CEO mindset and thinking more long range and what repeatability is available, what scaling is available, because we get trapped into the day-to-day, hamster wheel, if you will. And we got to get off and let somebody else get on the hamster and start thinking about, the future and how we can scale and build and what the business needs to sustain without our presence.
Well, Kirk and Cyndi, thank you so much. Richard and Jaye, pleasure meeting both of you. Next week is not only our final topic segment for this topic, our March topic, but it'll be our final Wednesday show as we switch to Tuesdays moving forward in April. So join us next Wednesday at 11:30 at 11 Texas for the Business Development Alliance. Hope everyone has a great week. We'll see you then, and have a wonderful week. Bye.
Thank you for watching today's show.
The Community Difference Plano was made possible by Nathan Smith with Summit Financial, Harvey Lucier with Twilight Cleaning Services, Tracy Duff with Assisted Living Locators, Jacqueline Kreider with Financial Mastery Simplified, Susanna Austin with K9 Resorts, Audra Hooper with Audra Hooper Integrated Health, Cyndi Durrance with A Place at Home, and by Kirk Hodgson with Assured Partners. The Community Difference Plano. Together, we can make the difference.